This is the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, powered by Playfly. Hear from head coaches Corey Barnett and Sophie Anderson every week to get an inside scoop and perspective of Golden Eagle hoops. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Golden Eagles, Connor Clark.
Welcome back into another edition of the ORU Basketball Coaches Show here at Waldo's Chicken on 71st and Yale. We are back in person after being remote last week. Thank you, Snowstorm. But we are back and glad to be back here on a very sunny Monday. And lots to talk about here with the head coach of the women's basketball program, Sophie Anderson. Coach, thanks so much for the time as always. Good to see you.
Thank you. Hey, I heard it's going to be like 67 degrees today.
I know. It's going to be really warm. It's going to be... I think it's going to be like almost 70 on Super Bowl Sunday, which is going to be phenomenal.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
I'm not complaining as a Midwesterner. I'm not complaining about 60s in February.
I hear that.
It's pretty awesome. But but before we get started, just a reminder for all you fans out there, the Diamond Dinner coming up on Friday the 6th, and the live auction for said Diamond Dinner is live right now, actually. So you can go and check that out on the ORU Athletics website and get your bids in on some team exclusive gear and other really cool stuff that they are auctioning off ahead of baseball season, which kicks off on February the 13th. But Coach, we'll talk basketball here with you now for the next 30 minutes or so. And I've got 3 words for you, and that is Gentry freaking Baldwin, because she was phenomenal against UND on Thursday, led the team in scoring. I mean, I didn't know if she was going to miss a shot ever. 25 points on 9 of 11 shooting. She hits 5 threes, and we've talked about her at length this year and just the overall improvement from last year to this year. And, of course, that comes with the increased minutes as well. But, I mean, there's not much left to say about the play of Gentry. She's been awesome.
Yeah, she was great. Honestly, we needed that. We didn't play very well, and we haven't really all year played very well in the first half. And third quarter, we've normally come alive, and she did that. Like, she came out and she just was mindless. She made some huge shots for us, which I think opened up a lot of things. We did make a few adjustments offensively, and I think that opened up a few things. She was able to get to the rim. She was knocking down shots, but when you make big shots like that, especially on the road, it gives your team that confidence and that boost that you need to kind of get over that hump and get over the, just the hesitation and just being on the road and just our weird coming off of the snow break, just all of, the things. And I think she opened it up very well for us. And she played really, really well, just with a lot of confidence, like a junior, like a vet.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, and obviously the stats back it up, and 5 assists to go along with all those points as well. And we've talked about her just ability to distribute. Like, not only is she a scorer, but she's really a true point guard when it comes to that sense of the game. And it's hard to stop somebody like that. And, oh, by the way, 5 assists, only 1 turnover on top of that as well.
Right. I mean, her being a true point guard like that was kind of woven into her and kind of her foundation coming from high school. She was surrounded by quite a few studs at Bixby High School, and she was able, and that was her job, and she took pride in that job, making sure the ball went to the hands that it needed to get to. And so I think that's the foundation of who she is. But now running a more open, offense, a more motion type offense off of the bounce, that gives her a little bit more freedom to use some of her strengths, which are getting to the rim, seeing the floor, but also, like, when you have other players and when she starts to make shots like that, I mean, it's just a ripple effect in a positive way, and that just gives confidence to the next person. So honestly, that game, anything she touched, whether it was herself or passing it to a teammate, they made a shot. So it was just a great feeling. We needed that game going on the road, heading into North Dakota State. So just a big road win for us, big game for her.
And here's a follow-up question. Are we sure that Jaylee Oglesby is still on the road coming back home? Has she made it yet? Or,
yeah, she did. She made it back home Sunday morning, 3:30 in the morning. It was her brother's birthday. So she always says that, birthdays and things like that are a big deal for her and her family. So they made sure to celebrate her brother that day. Whether she was tired or not, she wasn't going to go a day without celebrating her brother. So yeah, they made it back home. Her parents drove her up. So it was good to see them. And I'm glad they got to spend some time with us. They came to a practice and, just along for the ride. And you don't get to see that other side of, Jaylee, I guess you can say. They just normally see her at home games. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's I'm not envious of that drive, first of all, and then B, not only does she make said drive, but then she drops 21 and 8 at UND as well. I know we talked about Gentry's play, and that Jaylee's just been Jaylee Oglesby plus I guess a mask and a lot of car rides.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure. She like rebounding has been a huge part of her game the last couple of years, and then I challenged her at Denver, I believe it was, and to like Jaylee, that's a huge part of your game and the getting started for her game, and she gets that defensive rebound, and then she just runs with it and she flows, and that gives her momentum to get downhill. So I think she did a really, really good job of that and kind of forcing the issue. And if she didn't have it, she passed it out, and it got things rolling for us. So I think rebounds were great for her. So I was happy to see her, grab 8 of those and also kind of get going and help us get going. So her and Gentry were huge for us on Thursday night.
Yeah, those were the 2 heavy hitters, and then kind of a shakeup in the starting lineup. Hannah Coons getting the start at North Dakota, plays 27 minutes, gives you 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, and she's been a player that has seen increased time as the season has gone on, and of course was in the Summit last year. Didn't play because of the injury, but is still really starting to morph into a key contributor for your team.
Yeah, I agree. She's been consistent for us in practice, and I think she's earned those minutes and that time, and she's just so solid, so positive. She's also a coach's kid, so she knows she gets it, and she gets it on a different level, meaning what it takes to be a winner. She had to carry a heavy load at Kiefer High School, and I think she just understands, and she understands the on and the offs of the basketball play. She understands the grind of the season and where we are at in the season. And right now it's a grind. It's not always funsies right now. It's a grind. And then the love and the joy kind of comes back towards the end of February as you head into March. But right now you're playing everybody again. But I think she's stepped up and she's helped us quite a bit, but she's been so consistent for us in other ways that, you don't get to see on the stat sheet. So I'm glad she had a great game.
Yeah, she had a great game, and half of those rebounds on the offensive glass as well, which I think is an absolutely huge stat. 3 of the 9 offensive rebounds you guys got in total. And this is the second time you faced UND. Of course, you guys handled them pretty well at home, just based off the final score at least. And then you go up there, and obviously it's hard to win on the road against anybody in any league. And what did you notice differently this time around? Because obviously, anytime you see a team for a second time, they're going to know a little bit more about you and vice versa. And did you see that come to fruition on their side? And of course, again, you got to go to the northernmost team in the conference, and you're the southernmost team in the conference. A lot of travel and all the other external factors play in a little bit.
Yeah, they're playing with nothing to lose, Connor. They have literally nothing. They're a good ball club. A good coaching staff they have over there. They're just not settling, and that's what you want as a first-year coach. You want your team to get better and better each time they step out on the floor, and I think they did that. They came out with just played fearless, and they made big shots, and you have to do that against heavyweight opponents. If a team is better than you have to make big shots. You have to meet their level. And that's just competition. That's, business. That's just life, and I'm not saying like, oh, we're the better team. I'm not going that far. But what I'm saying is they stepped up and they made big shots. And I thought they just played fearless. They were tougher than us in the first half. They never gave up. And I think that was the contributing factor to how successful in the score. It was 89-80, I believe. And they just never quit. They never rolled over. But what I love about our team is they're like, okay, y'all, like, let's get it together. And with Gentry stepping up, Jaylee being consistent, Anna Coons, Anna's always, pretty consistent. And then Hannah, and we call her Coons because when you say Anna, Hannah or
a lot
Anna.
Of confusion.
Yeah. So, but people stepped up. And that's what it's about at this time. You have to step up and you have to make a change and be different than you were the first time around. And then we're going to see somebody 3 times. So it's even more of a challenge. Nobody is settling. No one's quitting. And we have to have that same mindset. And sometimes I don't know if we're meeting that expectation on our end, to be honest with you, Connor.
Well, in that game, you mentioned the high score. 89-80, and you guys are getting up and down and scoring a bunch. You guys shot over 50% from the field, 57% from 3, and You guys make a season high 11 threes on 19 attempts. And I know we talked about, at times you guys are a team that doesn't necessarily shoot a lot of threes because you don't necessarily have to because of the dribble drive and getting inside. But what did you notice that allowed you guys to be so efficient from beyond the arc? Because it's not your season high in attempts by any means, but it's certainly your season high in makes.
Well, I think we hooked it up on the defensive end and we got some transition going. I think once we're able to get deflections, tips, and steals, that, transition play and us getting downhill allowed open shots for the three. So I think that's what it was. And yes, it is a dribble drive type offense, but the motion is we need to get paint touches, whether that's with the pass or whether that's off the bounce. You have to get paint touches, and that puts a little bit of pressure on the defense, which on that kick out will allow you to knock down the three or re-attack. So, I think that's what the contributing factor was, that the momentum was hitting. And then when Gentry started hitting a few shots, I'm telling you, just when good things happen, just like bad things,
right.
it just flows and it just permeates. And I think that just loosened us up, and it was exactly what we needed. We went on, I don't know, like 17-1 run, and I think that was huge for us coming out in the third quarter.
Yeah, you guys have been pretty efficient offensively all year. I mean, you're shooting at just shy of 45%. You've shot at least 45% in 6 of the last 8 games. And when you build that type of consistency and, just the high pace that you guys play on offense, and I feel like at times at the beginning of the year, and this will happen with any group when you bring in a lot of new players, it was, maybe a little out of control at some points. But now it just seems like, and I know we keep referencing the broken record Kansas game, where it kind of seemed like everything clicked. And now I think we're seeing that, and of course the percentages back that up.
Yeah, you make it sound so much better. I think we just got out of a staff meeting, and
it's my job.
I mean, it just didn't sound that great when we were in the meeting. We were just talking about a lot of things that we need to fix and get better at. But it is pleasant to see, the stats. They are this group is very efficient, but I just think it's just so much more inside of them that we are holding back. And I don't think we're displaying that with a high fire and a high level. So honestly, thank you for the kind words. But I mean, it's just so much more that we can grow and get better at. And I know we're going to talk about North Dakota State. So we just have to have better starts.
I mean, North Dakota State is, I feel like certified wagon is probably the best way to describe them, because they have just, I don't want to say run through the league up to this point, but they have been dominant in every single facet. I know you've seen them firsthand now twice, and going up to their place. And I mean, the Shield Center, just like South Dakota State we've talked about, is one of the hardest places to play in this conference. And I mean, they have just got it rolling right now. And what do you notice about them? And I know they bring a lot of size to the table, and I think that can be overwhelming at some point.
We'll just go away from the players. Let's just go away, and their abilities, their mindset right now, Connor, it's another level. You can see the difference between the North Dakota State team that we played 3 weeks ago and the North Dakota State team that we played. The huge difference. The mindset, champions. You can just see how they're approaching the game, how they're knocking down shots, when Avery Coonan stepped out and made that 3, I said, oh boy, it's about to be a ball game. Their focus, their level of focus, their level of execution, just their mindset. And then when you add ability to that, when you add the toughness to that, Connor, on another level, hats off to what they're doing, and extreme confidence right now, as it should be. They are playing with a level of just a championship mindset. And this is what we've been talking about since July. You have to be able to rise and rise and rise and just get better each go around. And I mean, honestly, just bragging on North Dakota State, they have done that. And they have shown that they are the better team. At South Dakota State, they did that. And throughout this whole conference right now, they're just playing well, really, really well.
I mean, you guys really picked it up in that second half. And, I mean, you ended up outscoring them 46-45 in the next 2 quarters. And was that more so from your perspective, a settling in type mindset from your team? Because, again, you go up against a team like North Dakota State on the road on top of that, and sometimes it's easy to kind of get shell-shocked, but I feel like your team really settled in after the break. And I know the final score isn't what you wanted, but that second 20, again, you guys outscored them by a point.
Well, it's easy to settle in when you're down 20. Like, I mean, that's what makes me so mad. Like, we have to have a better start. Like, we have to be able to, because you are able to compete with someone. But it's easy to do things once you already have a 20-point hole because the pressure is off of
Right,
you,
right.
and like my challenge for this group, the next 7 guaranteed 8 games, is you have to show up. We have to show up from the tip, and how they're performing right now, like that, I'm beyond, like, extremely passionate right now. I'm not going to
Uh,
say mad, but I am extremely passionate about us having a better start. Like, give ourselves a chance, a fighting chance. And that's been our MO this whole year, and I'm done with it. Like,
mhm.
I'm done with it. I want us to come out and give ourselves a fighting chance and not fight out of a hole. Fight for a win. Use that energy to put towards a win, because our girls are deserving of that.
Mhm.
Like, we are extremely talented, and it's time to show that for 4 quarters, not just 2.
When you go about breaking down getting out of the gates faster, and I know there's
Yeah.
a laundry list of things that can and should happen when it comes to that, but what's the thing that you've noticed as an underlying factor as to why that maybe sometimes you guys don't get out of the gate as fast as you'd like?
I mean, I don't know, Connor. Like, I think that's what we're all beating our heads against: the table, the wall, the floor, like anything. Like, it's just we're trying to figure it out. And I think, for us, we can always go back to how we played the game, and we got in the gym a lot. We didn't have the social media. We didn't have the distractions that they have, and it was just a little bit. It was a different time, so I don't know if that is a contributing factor, or I mean, honestly, I don't know what it is. I don't know, or maybe it's just a fear thing. Like, are we afraid of succeeding? Are we afraid of succeeding, because at that point everyone knows how good you are, and
Mhm.
now you're held to that expectation, and with that expectation comes a lot of hard work, it comes a lot
Mhm.
of discipline, it comes a
Absolutely.
lot of sacrifice, it comes a lot of just hard times, tears and sweat, and just blood, sometimes aches and pains. But do we really want that?
Mhm.
And I think that's where we are, because if we're fearful of being the very best and we play below that, we can always say, what if? We played a half, what if?
Right.
But no one can hold you to a standard. But now, once we put it on the floor for 4 quarters, now that there's a standard. But that's why coaches get hired. We have to be able to pull that out of young people. We have to be able to instill that confidence in them and know that we love them and give them tough love. But at the same time, if you if we won't, they won't.
Right.
And that's where we are. So I don't know what to answer your question is. I don't know what it is, but we're going to find out. We got a bye week. So
That's always
we got
important.
time to find out what it is.
That's always important. You guys get the
Yeah.
bye week, and then you got 3 your next 4 in your building, which again, in the kind of the dog days of conference play
Right.
is always super super important. So you guys see South Dakota on
Mhm.
Saturday for a second time, and this is a big game, and because
Huge.
you guys went up to their place, and I mean you gave it to them,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
they're coming fresh off of one of the most impressive wins of the season right
Yeah.
now, giving it to South Dakota State on their home floor and winning by, I believe, almost 20, 17
Right.
to 20 point
Yeah.
range.
Right.
But a South Dakota team that has been impressive, but a South Dakota team that you guys know you can beat
Yeah.
and play to their level, if not better than their level. So, I mean, of course, you get a little bit of time between now and then, but I mean, this is, in my mind, probably one of the most important games of the year.
Right. And I think that's where that passion and the fire is coming from me, because I can see past the North Dakota State game and
Mhm.
see to, like, our staff can see to, like, hey, Saturday is huge. And not only that, the standings, where are we in the standings? Like, that's going to be huge. I think we're tied. Like, this game has way more weight to it than I think they even realize. But not only that, like, we're capable.
Mhm.
They were missing a player when we played them, and we were missing a player when we played them at their place. So it's going to be a battle right now on who wants it more. And that's where it is. They're playing really, really well right now. And to beat South Dakota State, and I don't care, they're still South Dakota State. They're a really, really
Right.
good ball club. And to beat them by 19 points, Connor, that's a huge.
It was
That's a
impressive.
huge statement. And North Dakota State, they beat them at their place, I think, by 8. And I thought, whoa, that's a big statement. And then when I looked at the scores, 19.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just playing really, really well, really confident, high energy. My just hats off to them and what they're doing and their ball club. It's just getting better and better. So you're right. Saturday's important, and it's important in so many ways.
It's important, and just to kind of put a button on the South Dakota State game. Brooklyn Meyer had half their points.
Yeah.
For the Jackrabbits, so it was kind of like, I don't know if their approach was, hey, she's going to get hers and just, clamp up everybody else.
Yeah.
That's certainly what it looked like in the box score. I didn't have a chance to watch it, of course, but it was an impressive performance. And you mentioned, standings wise, and obviously, nothing is said and done until the regular season is over with. But you guys currently sit at 5-4, and they're at 7-2, tied for second. You guys are kind of right on their heels, and a chance with a win on Saturday to really kind of shake things up at the top half of the league.
Absolutely. Like it's a must win. And if it comes down to ties at the end, towards the end of play, like us beating or sweeping South Dakota is going to be huge. That's going to help play out some head to head and give us a bump if we do need that bump. But it's a big, big game in so many ways. And I think the student athlete misses the business side of games. Like you just go in and you just play, but I don't think they understand. And I'm slowly kind of dropping little crumbs of seeding.
Right.
Like these games matter for March and your seeding, but then your seeding matters because who are you going to play first out the gate? And you don't want to play so-and-so out of the gate first round. And then if you do.
You said earlier you're going to see somebody for a third time. And
absolutely.
You don't really want to see, X, Y, and Z for a third
time. Exactly. And then here's the other wrinkle. There's a team we haven't even seen yet.
Right.
In St. Thomas. Which we'll see next week, and like that's another wrinkle that we have to just take care of business, but we have to be a better version of us. And we come out in the second half like our hair is on fire. Well, we need to come out in the first half like our whole body's on fire. Like we have to have better starts. And I am so like I'm just beyond fired up right now because Saturday is huge, and if you don't understand anything else, this is what it's about. This is what conference is about. This is what March Madness is about. Like setting up, this is what basketball is about. And it's giving me that in our staff, like that extra fire, like, okay, how do we get this program? How do we get this group? Like you have to kick their butts just a little bit to make them realize you are good. You got to believe it and don't be fearful of greatness. And a lot of people are. It's easy to be down here. It's easy to coast. Everybody doesn't want to be great. And I think I said that in one of our little snippet things. Everybody doesn't want to be great. It's easy to kind of be down there at the bottom because you don't have to work as hard.
Right.
But like we tell our girls, we don't do easy. We do hard.
Well, you guys, again, a dominant win at their place, 83-61 the first time around. And you guys held them to 29%, or essentially 30% from the field, 3 of 16 from 3. Of course, they got to the free throw line 21 times and make 18 of them. But just overall, I mean, you guys limited them. And again, on offense, it could be really high powered at times to, I mean, one of their, lowest outputs offensively in some league play. What was it about your defense in that game? Just kind of the flow of that game, and how do you apply that moving on to Saturday?
Well, and you can double check this, Connor, but I felt like this was one of the games, one of like maybe 3. We haven't had many that we started all 4 quarters. Like I felt like we came out the gate and we came ready to play.
17-11 after the first.
And I just felt like we showed up, and we can go back and look. There's so many games more than, I honestly, I think we can count on one hand how many games we started out on fire. And this was one of them. And that just shows you how capable we are if we put 4 quarters together. Now, mind you, our first quarter wasn't our best quarter in that game, but still we weren't down 20 points.
Yeah, you held them to 11 points.
Yeah, exactly. So I think defensively we were just locked in, and that's a question I'm going to ask them today. What's the difference? What's the difference? Is it more personal that game, or like what is the deciding factor that it's going to click for y'all? Because it's great if we get it, but if y'all don't get it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
We're down 15 in the first quarter, and we could be fired up and jumping up and down, but it doesn't matter if our whole staff is going crazy and chest bumping and we're missing layups. Like that, they have to be able to put it together. So I think that was the difference. We put 4 quarters together and we dominated. And it started out with just a laser focus on the defensive end. And I think we were just consistent, just consistent on both sides of the floor. And honestly, that's what it takes to win. And that is why both state schools and even South Dakota are playing so well right now. They're just consistent and they play 4 quarters. They really do.
Well, if you can get Coach Anna to do a chest bump on the bench on Saturday, I need that clip ASAP.
Deal.
ASAP, because unfortunately I'm
going
to miss it.
He ain't chest bumping if we're not winning. He won't be chest bumping.
Well, I'm going to hopefully that ends up happening, because that'll be an all-timer.
I'll tell him.
That game is at 2:00 on Saturday, so be sure to come out. And of course, I mean, a really, really important game at this stage of the season. And I know everybody talks about March when it comes to college basketball, but I feel like the month of February kind of gets overlooked a little bit, because that's where you make your situation in March.
Yeah,
it's one of the most crucial points of the season. And again, you mentioned South Dakota for the second time. You haven't even seen St. Thomas yet. You're going to get real familiar with St. Thomas here in the next couple of weeks, of course, just because of, the sheer amount of games left. And it's just a really, really important time. And of course, again, you guys get 3 of your next 4 at home in your building. And I mean, of course, especially in conference play, I mean, there's really no place like playing in your own building.
Right. And you talk about the important time, but honestly, Connor, as a student athlete, this is the hardest time. This is the time where you're flying quite a bit. You start to miss a little bit more of school. Your body hurts a little bit more. The mental wear of just the long season from June, July until now, it starts to really hit right about this time. And like you said, on the flip side, this is the most important time. But this is where the separation happens. This is where the cream rises to the top. When you really, really want to be good, this is where you find out.
Right.
And I think right now, heat is where we are. We got to put a little bit of fire right now to see if we can make some gold out of this metal. And I think that's just where we are. We have to put fire to it. So see if we have just stainless steel, or do we have gold? That's what I need to find out. We're going to put fire to this team and find out who we have. But it's a grind right now, and you have to be able to overcome. And this is most importantly what I talk to them all the time about. This is where you being a mom, this is where you being a wife, this is where you being a working mom and wife, all of this plays into play. How do I get it done?
Right.
How do I find a way for my family? How do I find a way? And that's what I want to teach and help instill into these young women. You're stronger than you can even imagine. And if you can just get over the feeling and just hold on to, I got this. I don't care how much it hurts. I got this because I want this. Then we're going to be okay. But we all need a little nudge, and we need a little push. And being 18 to 20 something, it's hard. It's hard to figure that out.
Course.
And let's be honest, only one person has done that on our team. Only one person has been through the grind, and that's Jaylee. And that's why she's so consistent, because she's been here.
Yeah.
Nobody else on our team has been here. So we have to help them and nudge them just a little bit. And to be honest, the heat, we got to turn it up.
Well, it's going to be a big one on Saturday. Once again, tip-off there at 2:00 as Oral Roberts takes on South Dakota for the second time this year and go for the season sweep over the Yotes at home. Coach, as always, thanks so much for the time. Looking forward to watching your team play on Saturday. Of course, a big one, as we've said, and we will talk to you again next week.
All right. We'll see you Saturday.
Well, that is head coach Sophie Anderson of the women's basketball program.
Shout out to our fans here.
Yes. Woo! Shout out to the people coming out. This is awesome. And, much better weather conditions to come out here this week around. So we'll talk with Corey Barnett coming up after the break, and we'll wrap things up here from Waldo's. We're here until noon, 71st and Yale. Come check us out. We'll be back in a moment on the ORU Sports Network.
Looking for delicious fried and rotisserie chicken? Look no further than Waldo's Chicken. Our Southern-style scratch-made sides are the perfect complement to our mouth-watering chicken. With dine-in, drive-through, and catering options, we got you covered for all occasions. Let us handle your next fundraising event, team lunch, or family gathering with our full-service catering options. Enjoy all your favorite sports with lots of TVs, and don't miss out on our daily food and drink specials each week. With 2 convenient locations at Broken Arrow's Tiger Hill Plaza and 71st and Yale. Waldo's Chicken, the best fried chicken in Oklahoma.
Basketball season is here, so let racers make sure you're on the ball for entertaining. Make it easy with our ready-to-grill items, like our jalapeno poppers and kebabs. We have fan favorites, like our sandwich trays from the deli, or team-themed cakes and cupcakes in the bakery. Racers, the official grocery store of the ORU Golden Eagles.
At Bill Knight Ford, we're proud to bring you the power of 4 with Bill Knight Ford of Tulsa, Stillwater, Bartlesville, and now our all-new location in Veneta. You have access to a wider selection of vehicles, more service options, and a dedicated team.
Get the 2025 F-150 Super Crew for just $48,990 or the 2025 Explorer for just $43,660, both with 3.9% financing.
Visit any of our 4 locations to experience the power of 4 for yourself or shop BillKnightAuto.com today.
WAC from Ford Credit.
This is the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, powered by Playfly. Hear from head coaches Corey Barnett and Sophie Anderson every week to get an inside scoop and perspective of Golden Eagle hoops. Now, here's your host, the voice of the Golden Eagles, Connor Clark.
Welcome back into the ORU Basketball Coaches Show here, brought to you by Waldo's Chicken. Connor Clark now joined by the head men's basketball coach Corey Barnett here in our second segment. Coach, as always, thanks so much for the time. Another busy week, another busy weekend. And before we get into this week that your squad had up in South Dakota, bit of some breaking news in the Summit League yesterday, and that is the hiring of Mark Turgeon to the Kansas City Roos. And obviously a really big name out of the Big Ten, most recently with Maryland, and of course had a lot of success with the Terps. He was with Wichita State. He was with Texas A&M. So really, really deep coaching background for him. And as a fellow coach in this league, just your reaction to that news coming out yesterday. And of course, that just makes the Summit League even better.
Yeah, no, I think it's great for our league as a whole. I mean, Mark did an incredible job in Maryland, and he just got there towards the end of my time in Indiana playing. So he was there for a long time and had a lot of success. It's somebody who is going to bring a different level of prestige. And, I think they had an awesome coach prior, and Marvin Menzies. He obviously did a phenomenal job at New Mexico State. So they've now hired back-to-back great coaches, which I think helps the league. And I know he'll be able to recruit at a high level. And it's obviously in a very cool city in Kansas City. And I'm looking forward to be able to see what he's able to do there with that program.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch. And of course, again, we talk about not only the talent on the floor in the Summit League, but the talent on the sidelines commanding the players on the floor in the Summit League. It's already been good, and it gets even better with that hiring. So just wanted to knock that news out of the way because, of course, pretty big news in this conference. And we'll move on to your squad and a busy week up in South Dakota with the Coyotes on Thursday and the Jackrabbits on Saturday. 2 tough places to play on the road, especially on Saturday. One of the honestly all-time toughest places to play in college basketball over the last decade plus. We'll get to that in just a moment. But let's start with Thursday, and we talked about it post-game. It was nice to kind of see that quote-unquote big 3 offensively get back and kind of find their rhythm again, get into double figures. And when we say big 3, we're talking about Ty, Ofri, and Connor. And just that rhythm kind of seemed to come back to all of them. And, of course, Ty set a career high that he would break about 36 hours later.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I feel like we started to come together there a little bit on the offensive end, and but it's just these lulls. And unfortunately, this team this year, we've just continued to have these segments in games where we can't find a way to get a basket, whether it be missing open layups or having a uncharacteristic turnover. And it's an area that we work on quite a bit, and those 3 need to continue to grow in that area and be dudes during those times. And I think all three of them took a step on this road trip. It was obviously two very tough games, and you see the top team in our league go to South Dakota right after us, and have to go to overtime to beat them. And they're from 1 through 9 in this league. It's a very top to bottom, well coached, highly talented league, and it's difficult each and every night, and it's something that we need to keep leaning into and know that next game that the breakthrough is coming. And thankfully we get a week here to be able to kind of reset and repair and really work on some things offensively and defensively that I think can give us an edge down the stretch as we open into a new month.
From your perspective, and this may be a tough question to answer because there may not be just one answer to it, but from a head coaching perspective, when you talk about these lulls offensively, is it a consistent theme in which is causing those lulls, or do you notice it's kind of a different thing that sticks out to you when those things happen?
Unfortunately, it's different things. It would be easier if it was just one thing that we could really point to. The two obvious ones are just not finishing high quality shots and then not taking care of the ball. And those are two main areas that we focused on, but that's done different ways. In the South Dakota game, it was missing a lot of layups, and we missed a lot of point blank shots at the rim. And that's an area that we work on every single day and we start every single practice with. And our guys have continued to improve on, but that was obviously a pretty big setback. And it was something that put us in a position where I thought we could have been up 15 or 20 and really push that game and put pressure on the home team. And we didn't. And we knew that they obviously have three very talented players, and their big three is one of the better big threes in the league. And they got a big fella inside who was a load to guard. Then they got one guard who can really get to the free throw line at a high rate. And we didn't do a good enough job keeping him off of there and finding ways to get stops in that stretch that we weren't able to score. And it's an area where we need to be able to have different adjustments that we're going to work on this week to, hey, if something's not working, we need to go to something else. And but right now our main adjustment hasn't been doing enough. And so we need to add another one and keep figuring out ways to help this team help put this team in the best chance to have success.
I know it's the first time you guys have really seen a player like Cam Fens all year, just in even going back into the non-conference play. I mean, he's just so big, and obviously he's not only tall, but he's strong. I feel like you see a lot of bigs these days where they're either, 6'8" and they could go play linebacker tomorrow, or they're 7 feet plus and they kind of look like a stick figure. And he's a combination of both. And I mean, when you look at his game, obviously he can overpower a lot of bigs in this league and really in this country, but it felt like his touch around the rim on Thursday night was a little bit better than at least what we were accustomed to seeing last year prior to his injury.
Yeah, no, I think he's made a major jump in the offseason. And that's something that we're seeing pretty consistently throughout the league. It's these guys that are obviously having a ton of success are guys who trusted the work when during the offseason and when the lights weren't shining on them. And that's what our team has the opportunity to do this offseason. And I think we can really step into a very big February. And then obviously once we turn the calendar, I'm excited about this group coming back and what they can look like after an off season. And Fens is a great example of that our guys can look to. He's somebody who was at USC for multiple years and struggled to get on the court. And in year one with South Dakota wasn't exactly what I think he could have been. And then he really trusted the process in the off season and is obviously having a major leap here. And some of it is due to injuries around him. They had to simplify the game and really simplify their offense to, hey, we're going to throw him the ball. He's very efficient at finishing. And so what are you going to do? You're going to leave him one-on-one? Well, he's finishing at a high rate. You're going to double him? Well, we got 3-point shooters around him. And now you allow some of their role players to be able to beat you by hitting an open three because they pretty much 1 through 5. They play a guy who can make an open one. So they've done a good job at simplifying through some adversity. And that's an area that we need to continue to grow in.
Yeah, it's been extremely impressive to watch what they've been able to do with all the injuries and kind of the cards that they've been dealt this season. I feel like the Coach of the Year race is probably as large of a pool as we've seen in quite some time, but that's a conversation for another day. And I want to go back to the play of Connor and Ofri. And of course, they had good days scoring wise, especially efficiency wise, but they also combined for 16 rebounds as well out of your guys' 38. And we know Connor's been really good around the rim this year. I mean, he's one of the best shot blockers in the league, which I don't know if any of us saw that coming preseason. And then Ofri, I just feel like, is that constant around the boards. And when you have two guys who normally play around the perimeter, kind of clean up the glass for you like that, it's got to make your life, I hope, a little bit easier.
No, there's no doubt. And that was a part of the game plan going in. They're obviously they have the defense is a load inside. So it was not just about our 5-man boxing out and winning the one-on-one battle on the glass. We really needed to pursue from the guard position. And I thought Ofri and Connor stepped up and really did that at a high rate. And both those guys, like I think that during the month of February, our focus is really going to turn to how do we maximize possessions, because we're not making enough shots to compete in those stretch runs right now. So awesome. Well, if we're not going to make the shot, then we better go fight like crazy to go try and get another one back. And I think we saw a little bit of that in the second half in game 2 on Saturday. And I think it's an area that we can really lean into as we go down the stretch here and really try and become a dominant force with the way that we crash, with the effort that we play with the motor that we have on the glass, both offensively and defensively. And that's an area where we can really find an edge, in my opinion.
Well, this is the ORU Basketball Coach Show, brought to you by Waldo's Chicken. Just a reminder, Diamond Dinner for Baseball coming up this Friday with special guest speaker Paige Odell, former ORU baseball player and current agent for Aaron Judge. And to add on top of that, auction items for the Diamond Dinner will go live this afternoon. So be sure to get your bids in on that. Some exclusive team gear and some other really, really cool stuff getting auctioned off for a great cause, which is our ORU baseball program and helping those guys get some success as that season starts in literally, 11 days, which is hard to believe, even though it was, 20 degrees last weekend. So here we are. It's crossover season in its fullest.
It'll be 60 today. We're fine.
It's warming up. It's rapidly warming up too, which is really, really nice. So as two people who grew up in Indiana and Illinois, I think we'll take 60s in February.
Oh, there's no doubt.
So moving on here, and we'll continue to talk about the offense. And of course, Ty got back going on, really both games, but first of all, on Thursday at 23 points, 5 rebounds, and an assist on 10 of 19 shooting. And it seems like he'll have times where, and we've seen this before, where he can just absolutely take over a game. And I think we saw that in portions of the South Dakota game, and I really think we saw that to open up the South Dakota State game. He really just had that look in his eye.
Yeah, no, Ty is somebody I wish I could have coached for a long period of time. I just think he has, even though he's in year 6 in college, he just has so much untapped potential. And I thought South Dakota State, he finally really started to find his balance, because he is one of the better shooters in my opinion in our league. He just hasn't been shooting it that way because he just isn't hunting the right ones enough. And in that game, even with his mid ranges, which most would tell you is not a super high analytical shot, the way that he got to his spots and played on balance, and then when he got to the rim and played off 2 feet, and every single 3 he took was with discipline and held his follow through. And those are areas where I think if he can really lean in this month of February, we can really see his statistics take a massive jump, which will obviously help this entire team, because he's obviously very dynamic going downhill, and he's tough to keep in front with his quickness and his athleticism. But he honestly is one of the better quick twitch guys I've ever coached that can also make a catch and shoot 3. And so that's an area where I think he really needs to maximize his gravity as we enter into the month of February to make this team hard to guard.
You mentioned the mid-range, and that was something that really popped off the page when looking at that game. And you mentioned his balance too, and his way to, pick his spots kind of around that elbow area. And I agree. I think it was probably the most balanced he's been all year when, deciding when to attack, when to shoot a 3, when to go to that mid-range. And I think he had 3 or 4 of them in that first half where he was just able to make a move on his defender, shake him a little bit, and then find himself open. And we saw him get to the free throw line in that second half too, because they knew that mid-range area was going to be a pretty big point of emphasis for your guys' offense.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it changes the way teams have to guard him, and now they start overreacting to a lot of his fakes, and now it allows him to get to the free throw line. And to be honest with you, I think a lot of his getting to the free throw line has to do with his balance. When you attack on balance and now you're able to play out 2 feet and shot fake and get a little bit of an edge, now that's when it really is not you creating the contact. It's the other team fouling you, which gets you to the line. And that's an area we really worked hard to help him grow in. It's an area that he's really leaning into that I think will help him not only down the stretch, but throughout the rest of his professional career past ORU.
And we talked about post-game on Saturday, a few different players, but arguably, I mean, outside of Ty's career-high 26, I would give my player of the game vote to Chase Martin. And he had 7 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, he was doing it all. He had a couple of blocks as well. And you mentioned just how hard that guy plays when he's out on the floor. And he's had 4 straight starts now, and I feel like he's pretty much maximized all 4 straight opportunities he's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, we've obviously when you go through a losing spell like we've gone through, you're trying to figure out what different lineups you can play, what different buttons you can push, just to try and really get the team to be able to turn that corner. And I think Chase is one that has been the benefactor of trusting the process and trusting the grind. There were times this season where he didn't get in a game, and there was times this season where he played very low minutes, and he's had to play the 4 or the small ball 5. And I mean, we had times in the last game where he was bringing the ball up the court. So he's been asked to do a lot of different things, and he just consistently had a great mindset about it and leaned into it in a real way. And it's just a testament to his teammates of when you're about the right stuff every single day. And if you have a unit of 14 guys who are all their minds and their eyes and their thoughts are in the same place, where they're just trying to figure out, how do I help this team win? Good things happen, period. So, and they have for Chase. And I'm happy for that. And I'm really hoping he can be a huge key to help turn this win-loss record in the month of February.
You mentioned too, I mean, he's had games where he hasn't even seen the floor, or he's seen single-digit minutes, and now he's playing 30-plus over the last 4. And I mean, as a player, and of course as his coach, how do you go about keeping him level-headed? And I don't know, Chase really isn't the most emotional guy in the world. He's not going to really kind of show that when he's out on the court. He's very even keel, but internally, that's got to be something that's, maybe frustrating at times for a guy who's been in college for now 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt. And to be honest with you, like, we all go through it, but especially I think this generation of athletes, it's just the confidence level. Like, I'm reading through Dan Hurley's book that he recently wrote, and just hearing about kind of all the mental battles he went through when he was at Seton Hall, and how he balanced that, and he had to step away from basketball. And you never know, like, the what's going on in each and every individual's head, and the pressures they're putting on themselves, or the pressures that their families or people outside are putting on them. And so our message to our guys has been pretty consistent. Like, let's just lean into the process, lean into this team, trust the work, and really lean into being the best possible person, human, teammate you can possibly be, and all the other stuff will take care of itself. And Chase is a pretty great testament of that, and he's really leaned into, I don't know what today will look like, and it may not be it may be a DMP, it might be 3 minutes, it may be 10 minutes. Heck, it may end up being starting and playing 33 like he did in the last game. But regardless of what that looks like, I'm going to do it with a phenomenal attitude, knowing I'm going to put the team first. And when we have a team full of guys who are doing that and moving in the same direction, regardless of our shot making or our ability to have the toughness that we need defensively, like, if we have that type of team that's really leaning into the right things on a daily basis, we're going to like how this month looks.
Another guy too that has been told to be aggressive is Cal Furnish, and I think we saw him be aggressive with that 3-point shot on Saturday. He knocks down 4 of them, career-high 12 points for him. And I mean, he's had a good-looking shot, all throughout high school, of course, because he was a really good high school player. And then even when he got onto campus, it was never really a question of can he do it. It's a question of when he's going to do it, I feel like. And I think we finally got a little bit of an answer on Saturday against South Dakota State.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think a lot of that was the benefits of the two we've already talked about, in Ty and Chase. The way that Ty was creating pressure towards the paint, and then creating kickouts for Cal, and the way that Chase was able to kind of take Cal off of just having to run the offense, and we can now bring it down and simplify the offense a little bit more, where he can just get a clean catch and shoot. I think he was the benefactor of both those things. But more importantly, it was him knowing that I need to be able to go out there and get aggressive, because it's never been a question of work with Cal. From day one, from me getting here, I heard nothing else other than how hard of a worker he was. And from day one of him stepping on campus, it's morning workouts, it's 2-a-days, it's getting our GAs in the gym at all times, it's getting our staff in there with him. Like, he is somebody who loves the process and loves the work and really dives in. And I think that obviously the reps are moved out, and he's one that is really, really leaned into the reps consistently. And obviously now we need him to go out and play with zero doubt and play with the level of confidence that he should already have through the work that he's put in. And I think he's got a really huge jump to make this off season, because I can see so many things that are still untapped in him. But I was really proud of the game that he had on Saturday with his aggression level and his mindset. And I think really the biggest jump for him is just finding that way defensively to have that toughness and that edge at the size that he is. Because I do think he's a good defender. I think he's a tough kid. He just doesn't always know how to use it and when to use it and what to do without fouling. Because in the past, this team has had an issue with fouling for whatever reason. And so he's really tried to lean into being a little bit too just hands up, and as opposed to having discipline with your physicality. And that's an area where I think he can make a major jump. And when he does, the sky's the limit for that kid. He plays so hard. He loves it. When he starts using his voice and his physicality on a daily basis, he's going to be a real problem in this league.
Yeah, and I feel like you mentioned his work ethic and, kind of falling in love with the process. And we mentioned earlier in the segment about kind of today's day and age athlete and, trying to figure it out. And of course, college basketball looks different now than it ever has before. But I feel like the maturity level that Cal possesses as a true freshman is something that you don't really come around too often, because he's been asked to, run the offense in a double overtime game at the top team in the league. He's been playing significant minutes for your squad this year, and a handful of starts as an 18-year-old. And it just seems like he's taken everything in stride, and it looks like, he's been doing it for 2-3 years when he's out there.
Yeah, to be honest with you, a lot of that is the way that we want to recruit moving forward. It's been an area where obviously in year one, it's a little bit different. You kind of have to put together a whole new team, which is difficult. But for us with Cal, what checked the box over and over and over again was he's been not only an incredible human being who was raised the right way by amazing parents, but he's also been really well coached from his AAU program to his high school program to the way he was, the guys he played with from a young age. He has always been put in positions where he's had to make winning plays consistently and learn from very high level coaches, and a father who really leaned in the right way and helped him grow in the right areas, and didn't coddle him or baby him, but really told him to lean into all the hard things and the tough things, and that it would make him a better man. And he's bought into that in a real way. And so that speeds up a lot of your process, because when you get to college, obviously, like, you're going to hit adversity right away, especially as a freshman. Like, a lot of your freshman year is just understanding that everybody's going to go through a really hard time. I've yet to be around a freshman who didn't hit some kind of a lull or hit a brick wall where they just didn't understand how to get around or get through because they didn't have the experience or capacity. And I think he has been somebody who has hit that at times, but kept pursuing and kept pushing through because of the way that he was raised. And obviously it's a lot about what he believes in and who he believes in and how he leans into his faith. And I think he is somebody who can really be a huge foundation for this program moving forward.
And speaking of guys who can be a foundation as well, Luke had a pretty nice game on Saturday at South Dakota State. He had 10 points, 7 rebounds. Of course, he knocks down the 3 to open up the game. I felt like that was a pretty big shot for him, just overall confidence-wise, because we've seen his uptick in 3-point attempts over the last few games. And I know you guys were thinking, hey, he may have more pick-and-pop opportunities, especially on Thursday night. And I know he didn't probably have the success rate in which he was wishing for, but it's nice to see him just kind of let that thing rip. And we all know how much work he's put into his 3-point shot over the offseason. And I think we've seen at times that work starting to pay off in game.
No, there's no doubt about it. And the hard thing that a lot of people don't fully understand or realize is there's a lot of these kids who haven't really had a real offseason yet, whether it be from Cal because he's a freshman, Martin because he's a freshman, or Luke Gray. With the staff change, it's hard because you have a new staff coming in. We're still hiring guys. You have a new team coming in. A lot of it's putting in new culture and learning new terminology. And like what I'm really looking forward to with the foundation of the guys for next season is just them coming back and leaning into a full offseason of just getting better and development and learning all the different ways that they need to attack pick and roll coverages and their footwork and what they're focused on and where they're putting their eyes. And I think Luke Gray and Cal and Martins and obviously Ofri and Connor and others, like an off season with them to be able to really lean into that's an edge that our opponents have consistently on us pretty much across the board, is just the continuity piece, being in a place where they've been able to learn and grow together and go through hard things together. And man, like our 4 Ps are, we want to be connected to our purpose, and out of that flows our passion. And we know that perseverance is coming and we need to be present in the middle of it. And the perseverance P is not one I would have expected to be this level of perseverance. It's not what I wanted in year one, but it is what we have in front of us. And I think the guys are embracing that in a real way. And as much as it hurts and it's not what anybody thought was the most ideal, it is burning away any type of lack of excellence. And it's a way that our guys are going to learn to lean in and know, okay, we can't allow any inch of this in our program. And we have to not only run from it, but lean into what it looks like and lean into the hard stuff and do that on a consistent basis in every single practice and drill. And our guys have been embracing that for the last few weeks. And it's unfortunate we haven't seen it be a result thing yet with our wins and losses, but I do believe that our guys are leaning into it in a real way, and that will come. And it's going to lay a foundation that's going to leave a legacy here through all of them moving forward in the future.
Once again, this is the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, brought to you by Waldo's Chicken. Diamond Dinner coming your way on February the 6th. The live auction goes live this afternoon, so get your bids in on some great stuff supporting ORU baseball. And, of course, opening day is on February the 13th, and a big year on the Diamond awaits, and a brand-new turf as well. So that's always a nice little addition to go along with everything. But you talk about this streak, and of course, not what you envisioned and not what the staff envisioned, but I feel like just being, around the guys, especially on the road, it just seems like this group is still pretty tight knit. I feel like it's easy to kind of unravel when things aren't going your way, and whether that's in basketball or anything, but it just seems like, they continue to be around each other. They continue to, be on each other in a good way. And I feel like they just genuinely enjoy, being in each other's presence, whether that's, talking about something random or getting into a basketball argument with Earl in the team dinner. So I feel like that's been a really, really positive thing, and just an overall, of course, kind of culture laying thing as well with this group.
No, it 100% is. And that is one aspect as a coach that I'm proud of them, is regardless of what adversity they're whatever they're feeling, they've fallen short of this, or they've fallen short of that, or we have fallen short of this, or we didn't get the result here, whatever that might be, they still lean into the process every single day. And a part of that is just being present. It's our last P for a reason. It's incredibly important, regardless of what the circumstances are in front of you. You can't always control those, but you control who you are in those moments. And our guys have done that to a pretty high level, and they still love to be around each other. They love to really start to continue to lay this foundation in the right way and making the right decisions. And I think they're leaning in a real way, and not only in practices, but like you talk about in our walkthroughs and our film sessions, and some of that stuff, regardless of wins and losses, can become very mundane. But I continue to feel them lean in more and more and more and more. And they need to be able to continue to do that, because we obviously need to make a pretty big jump here in the month of February.
It's a big month upcoming, and of course, you guys with a lot more opportunities. And you mentioned you get a week off now from game activity, which I feel like comes at a pretty good time for you guys to regroup. And of course, you guys have remained pretty healthy this year, which is always nice. But you bring on St. Thomas for the second time this season up at their place in the Twin Cities, and then you come home for 2 against Kansas City and South Dakota State on February the 12th and February 14th. And this is kind of your second quote-unquote bye week of conference play. And
right,
how important is that for your squad, just especially mentally too at this point in the year? And what did you learn from that first bye week that you plan on carrying over to the second one?
These weeks are massive, and during the season, it just can become such a grind when you have 2 scouts, and then it's the scout to a one-day prep to a game, and those are difficult, especially for a younger team that hasn't been together for a long period of time. Just it feels like you're drinking through a fire hose. So these weeks are huge for us, just to be able to really focus in on us. And it's not like you're going to sit here for a week and just think about St. Thomas. And I will, after Carter Bajorki had 10 threes in the game yesterday, but our guys won't. Like, they need to lean into themselves and the work and our practices and what we're doing. And not only that, but their off-court development, who they are as men, and making sure that they're growing in every single area. And this allows that space to be able to breathe and create that margin to be able to really be able to get reset as we go down the stretch run here, which is a huge benefit to us. And we know once Saturday comes, it's a grind. We're gonna really be in a blitz to finish out the season in February, and then obviously March comes quick. We're earlier than most leagues in terms of our conference tournament. So this is the last little breath of fresh air to be able to really lock into us and lean into the process of a little bit longer practices and what that looks like to compete against each other. Because once we get into that grind, it's a lot about winning that day in a shorter way, in a sharper way, but locking into how do we win that next game? How do we go 1-0? And so this week will be huge for us, and our staff and our team, I think, is really looking forward to it.
Yeah, Carter Bierke had 10 threes, as you mentioned, and it's the second most threes in a single game in Summit League history, and it's the most in Tommy's program history. So a little bit of history there yesterday against the Roos up in the Twin Cities. We'll get you out of here on a national question because I know you got to run, but we had the matchup of potential number 1 versus number 2 picks on Saturday between AJ DeBansta and Darren Peterson, and
yes, we did.
I feel like that debate maybe got a little bit settled in that ball game. What's your thoughts on that?
Man, it's a hard one. NBA is a long-term thing, and they're looking at the long term. But I've been blessed enough to be able to watch Darren Peterson kind of grow up on the Adidas circuit, which my dad runs. And by the way, February 2nd, Groundhog Day is his birthday, so happy 62nd to Mike Barnett. But watching, shut up, Big Mike. Watching him, Darren, grow up has been it's pretty incredible what he's done, and just the maturity level. Like, he's had a lot of hoopla around him the majority of his life, especially these last 4 or 5 years, and just how he's handled it as a professional has been really, really fun to watch. So I'm a little bit biased just from being able to have seen it closer up, and I think he's going to be a generational special talent. And then, you hear maybe the best college basketball coach there is in the country, and Bill Self saying he's the best freshman that he's ever coached. So that's high praise coming from a guy who has coached a lot of high level pros and number 1 picks and guys who have been lottery picks. And so I think Peterson has a really, really bright future. Not that AJ doesn't, because I think he could, especially over the long term, finding the right program. And the longer you're in this, the place you land is huge. It really, really is. So it's, you have Kyle Anderson, who played for us at UCLA, and he ends up going the last pick in the NBA draft, and in the first round. And that was a massive blessing for him, because he landed with the Spurs, who had patience with him and helped him grow. And he's still an NBA player. And I think a lot of that is obviously a testament to his work, but it's finding the right organization that believes in you and helps you grow in the way that you need to and adapt to the professional game, which isn't easy. And so I think obviously where those two land will be a huge piece in their development. But regardless, both those are incredibly talented.
Well, yeah, that was a fun game to watch, and purposely avoiding the Nebraska-Illinois.
I figured you were. I didn't know if you would go there or not, but
you want to talk about weeks off coming at a right time. That week off is coming at a right time for
you need it. You guys need to get healthy. Get rid of the cold and flu bug. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it's. I think Fred said it best in his post-game presser yesterday. Rink Mass looked like he was in the hospital until 3 a.m. on Wednesday out on the floor yesterday. So
he did.
Braden Frager, though, much different story. 20 points. Dude was a flamethrower, but I'll leave it at that. I think I owe ice lunch now, so that's not fun. We'll get to that next week. But Coach, as always, thanks so much for the time. I know you got to run, and we will catch up with you here later on Saturday up in the Twin Cities.
Appreciate you, boys.
Well, that is the head coach of the men's basketball program, Corey Barnett, and this has been the ORU Basketball Coaches Show, episode number 12. We'll be back next week at Waldo's at 71st and Yale. We will talk with head coach of the baseball program, Ryan Fulmer, as well, and we will preview their highly anticipated 2026 season. So big thanks to Waldo's Chicken for helping us out with this show each and every single week. A big thanks to all you. We'll talk to you next week. This has been another edition of the ORU Basketball Coaches Show.